referral to a pain specialist. How do you approach your vet? Can you do it directly? So give us a little bit of information about how you like to get your referrals.
I think all referrals, whichever subjects it's in, they always work best when it's a three-way conversation. So I always ask, if I do get approached directly, my first advice is to go back and speak to your usual vet. Just run through the treatment that the dog's on or the cat's on, make sure that you're happy with the treatment it's getting. They can also then have a review of the case. They might make suggestions before referral, or they might say, yep, sure, off you go, and make the referral for them. So, but it does have to come from the vet. Referral should come from the vet.
Okay. And when you then speak to the vet, and if there is more information that you need, do you get them to do that first, or are you sort of looking at these animals and bringing them in to work them up, doing the x-rays and bloods and things like that? Or
a bit of both. We'll usually, if I see something which needs doing, I'll refer back to the referring vet and ask them to take further x-rays or blood sampling. Also monitoring blood samples. We work very closely with the referring vets for that. Sometimes if they come in and they need further work with other disciplines, then I'll send them on to the orthopedic team or neurologists or cardiologists, for example. So it really depends. Each case is different.
Yeah. What kind of cases do you see? Are they a lot of arthritis cases that come your way?
Yeah, the majority is going to be, the majority of the dogs do have osteoarthritis, and it's usually cases where they've been treated by their referring vets with the licensed products and things aren't going as well as they could do. There's a few dogs coming in with other illnesses, which mean they can't take the usual drugs. So if they've got heart disease, for example, or if they've got kidney problems, or if they've been unable to take the usual medicines, if it made them feel sick, or caused diarrhea, then there's that. We're also getting sort of post-surgical pain, where animals have had operations and then end up with surgical pain afterwards. And that's a big field in emerging field in human medicine. And it's an emerging field in our group anyway.
Yeah.
And palliative care, actually, that's another thing that's starting to become more common with animals having treatment for serious cancer, disease, and this sort of thing. Sometimes they end up with pain,
like bone tumors, that kind of thing as well. We see a lot of those. Yeah. So what age groups are you commonly seeing? Are you surprised at sometimes how young these arthritic animals are that are coming to you, or it tends to be the older ones?
What tends to happen, there's probably two distinct groups, which is you'll recognize as well. With the quite a few younger dogs will end up with arthritis in the elbows, for example, or in the hips, and through a malformation or hip dysplasia, for example, or elbow dysplasia. And if it's affecting one leg more than the other, so when the dog's walking, it's limping, then they come in at an earlier age. A second group will be affected in both elbows equally, and so instead of limping from one side to the other, they just have a short gait. And so those dogs tend to come in when they're about 7 or 8 years old. There's a few dogs we get where they're only really just turned a year and got hip problems or elbow problems. So it's a real challenge.
But it's actually the best time, isn't it? Because some of those, I mean, I see cases sometimes where I'm surprised at how they're walking and it looks really abnormal. But the owners actually, because they've always been that way, because it's been a hip dysplasia and they've just sort of grown up watching them walk that way, they don't actually recognize that it's an issue. And if they do recognize it's an issue early on, then that's the best time, because there's a lot more that can be done, even if it's non-surgical, with management and pain relief, isn't there? So it's great if you can see them younger.
Bringing pain under control before it becomes a problem.
I
know from a behavioral point of view, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about later, but one of the things is that one of the behaviorists I spoke to last year was saying that he thinks younger dogs show more pain. Dogs, his view was that they've actually learnt to adapt to it. Which, from a welfare point of view, you think, well, actually, it's an undiagnosed welfare problem.